Saram and happy Guru Purnima, my dearest brothers and sisters from Asia Pacific. On this glorious Guru Purnima, what other time could we have started our first Educare webinar? For this session, we are pleased to share that Sister Sudha Kudva will be joining us as the guest speaker for the webinar. Sister Sudha Kudva is a registered and licensed counselor, a certified play therapist, and an accredited clinical supervisor for play and creative therapy with Abri Integrated Mental Health. She is also the author of the book Childhood Matters: How We Interact with Kids Makes a Big Difference. She has conducted multiple workshops and given talks in Malaysia and other countries. This morning, we also have with us Sister Sophie from Australia, Sister Pavitra from Malaysia, and myself, Sister Shamini from Singapore, as youth representatives who will engage with Sister Sudha in a short discussion after her sharing. As always, there will be a question and answer segment at the end of the session for all of us to ask any questions we have. Auntie, we are all eagerly awaiting to listen to you.
Thanks all of you all for being in here. Wherever we are, whichever part of the world, we put in a lot of effort to make the time to be here. Thanks so much. As I say, wishing to hear my 2 cents. And thanks to Swami for giving this opportunity to speak here. I feel really awkward talking about myself because I really don't do that. It's awkward, funny, odd for me to do that. Let me try. As Shamini said, talk a little about my background. My parents got into the Sai movement, Satya Sai movement in 1972 when I was about around 12 years old, my sister 10, and she's here. Suchita is my sister. Hi, Suchi. Yeah. And then ever since then, they've been with Swami. That journey with Swami, Satya Sai Swami, took them to, they were in India, then they were in Africa, then the US, and then they returned to India. And then Dad volunteered work with Swami. He was in Gokulam, Whitefield, for about 7-9 years. Then he moved, Swami took him to Puttaparthi. He was in charge of a lot of construction of the stuff, yeah? And towards the end, he was the chief engineer for the ashram and all that stuff. And as we know, Swami moved on and came back in the Mudanhalli form. And in 2015, I think my dad met, as I say, went to Mudanhalli to meet that Swami. And within the next thing we knew is he was going to shift lock, stock and barrel to Swami. That was a huge shock for me. Hey, normally you consult your kids and we're all big now and and you've made a decision without even discussing with us. So I decided that I would need to go and check this dude out whom they've literally saying they're going to give up their stuff there. And it was my mom's 80th birthday, I think. We went to Mudanhalli and Swami in Mudanhalli, the Mudanhalli Sai gave us an interview. My sister was there. And he asked me what I wanted. And I said, by that time I had done a lot of this child work in that journey of searching for what I wanted. And I found it through little kids, that answer. And so I asked Swami, how can I support you bring about change in the world with little kids? And he put me into the Guru Vikas. I didn't even know there was a Guru Vikas program happening. Yeah. No, just coming back to that period of trying to make sense of this world or life. I would volunteer a lot of seva, leprosarium, old folks home, a lot of all that. But what I came to recognize is I want to support the world become better. I was becoming pretty much more nasty to live with. I took on a new project and I think the whole household became fearful because I might get more snappy. No, you take on more than you can handle and you don't realize it, don't know how to say no. And I never wanted to say no. And all that journey, I realized I've got to, there's something more to the meaning of life. I'm not finding what I want. And the journey of searching, a lot of twists and turns. And finally it started falling in place when I worked with little kids. I got into child therapy very, very accidentally. They hadn't advertised, as Cleo knows, they don't advertise the course plan. They just say the 15 days and we went in. And I said, oh my God, what the hell did I get into? But I had fallen in love with that process, so I didn't let go of it. And here I am today. I never planned this to be part of my life plan, yeah, to work or be a counselor or anything. It's just to support very many others. Now, coming back to Swami I'll just share something with Satya Sai before he passed away. This was, I think he passed away 2011, yeah, if I'm right? 2010 December, I had worked with a kid. I mean, I didn't even work with that kid. I was out there in the world. Someone was running this program and I was an observer and, consultant trying to improve the program. On the first session, I took part in that program. The child, 16-year-old teen, didn't know I was a counselor or anything like that. And then somehow rapport built. And by the end of that 2 hours, this child came up to me and he was talking the way he was talking to me, I knew I was going to receive a disclosure. I've done a lot of work in sexual abuse and all that stuff. And it was one of the worst disclosures I heard in my life, graphic. I've never heard I worked with the consequences of it, but not in that much. It was excruciatingly painful. And of course, when we stay in that much pain and a sense of helplessness and powerlessness, we quickly go into rage and anger. And whom do you take out the rage and anger? You take it out on Swami, isn't it? Why the hell are you allowing children to suffer so much? It can't be like that. If you're supposed to be the creator of the world, where the hell are you hiding? And my head was going on between helplessness and rage. And it was 3 days with this kid before he was falling sick. He had some fever. He needed to go to hospital. The program there was for 7 days. And then we were coming back later on for the next 7 days in February. So at the end of the 7th day, that night I was going to Puttaparthi. And so happened 8th or 9th day, we were sitting in line. Darshan, you sit in line and they're saying, Swami, come and do something about kids. And by which time I had come to a decision within myself. Well, I'm very much a backstage person. I hate the front stage. But if I'm asking Swami to bring about a shift, then I too must be willing to move from my comfort zone and put me on the front stage, something that was never my cup of tea. So I've made this contract with Swami, just that he passed mentally in my head. But he just passed by in darshan and never even looked at me. So then even more anger and rage. You know what? I don't need you. I can try and do what I can by myself. And within 1 hour after that darshan, through people, I don't even still know how it happened. And not through my father, because my father doesn't really understand at that time what I do, just that he's proud of what I do, yeah? I had an interview with one of these top people in Satya Sai group. And they were looking for a program and how do we support teachers to interact differently with children? And before I knew it, he said, write a proposal. I didn't know what the hell I was writing. I wrote something, gave it up, and within next day it was approved for Vidya Vahini in 2011. And they were giving me 7 days, 2 days, some days to run the program, some days to train people. And I was between, you can say, a lot of ecstasy and total fear. What the hell did I ask for? I didn't want this. This is not. And you can't train someone within 4 days, because then it's all cognitive. You're going back to that space. And Cleo will know, yeah, she works with me. You can't train someone in 4 days to shift a whole mindset. How the hell am I going to do it? What I talk is so different from what, not what I talk, what I've learned. And as we all know, Swami moved on after that, and it didn't happen in May 2011. And then, well, Mudanhalli Swami came, saw him in 2015. And then again, he had asked my sister and me to come for Shivaratri in 2016. So I said, by this time I've grown a lot, 2011 to 2016. I said, I'm getting Swami in my hands in my own parents' house. I'm going to ask him all those questions that I've been yearning to ask for all this time. Made sure I wrote it on a paper. Because, sometimes you're in front of Swami, you forget your questions. And we all wear the sari blouse where you can put anything in and it'll never get lost. So I've got my questions next to me. And, well, he came for lunch just after or before Shivaratri. And so at the appropriate moment when he's sitting there, I said, Swami, I have 3 questions for you. And can I ask these questions? I hadn't told my parents before that I would like to ask some questions. Because if I had said that, they would have gotten upset, yeah? And so my first question to Swami was, Swami, I'm really confused from all the work I've done with kids, yeah? And I've made so many mistakes with my own kids. We believe kids are blank slates, yeah? And we are supposed to teach them and put in the values and put in this and put in that. But what I've come to recognize is we are literally shoving those values down their throat. And they're literally regurgitating it, and that's what we are seeing. Those behaviors, it just doesn't work. And the way that I've learned from all the child therapy in a very simple way is, instead of telling a child, vegetarian food is better than non-veg, then I'm being judgmental, isn't it? And I'm saying one is better than the other. When I'm being judgmental, will that child want to come close to me? No way. If that kid likes non-veg, the kid will say, yes, I like vegetarian in front of me. That kid will learn to play that game. We are the one teaching the kids to wear the masks when we are judgmental. Wouldn't it be better, Swami? I mean, what I've come to understand is, hey, we cook. We say, well, you get proteins from meat, and there's another form of proteins you can get from lentils and greens and whatever. Isn't it? Wouldn't that be a better way to interact? As I've come to learn, and that's what we do in the child therapy that I learned. We work with the child, see the child, meet the needs of the child. 0, 0, 0 imposition on another human being. Yeah? And then Swami said, exactly, that's how it is. You need to offer choices, not impose. Then I became a little bit bolder with my next question, yeah? Because I had my game plan. If he can't accept my first question, I'll quietly slink out of Guru Vikas because I don't fit in over there. My thinking has changed so much. And then came the second question. Swami, now I'm talking about teens. I work a lot with teens. Just a little bit of my background. I work a lot with children, teens, individuals, adult individuals, couples, families, intense trauma work using EMDR. And all the clients I worked with from 3 years old to 81 years old, all their experiences have given me the guts, the confidence, the courage to stand in front of you all and talk, or to ask Swami these questions. Yeah, it's from all that life experience, not Sudha just talking. So I asked the next question about teens. I said, Swami, if coming back to the child question, if we talk vegetarian is better than non-veg, the child will go back home and tell that to the parents. Very soon the parents will feel judged. And after about 6-9 months of Bal Vikas, they take away their kid. because the parents are feeling judged now, isn't it? Then I said, Swami, let's come to teens. You see, teens come in, they just come in with their own personality. Yeah? And if they're all prim and proper and good and they're all following all the rules, I'm very concerned for them because they haven't learned to think for themselves. Yeah? The second lot who are coming in just being themselves and using the F word, the B word, all these words. It's just words for me, yeah, as I've come to understand it. And when does someone use it? When we see 5-year-olds use such strong words. And what is it? It's just them expressing the intensity of an emotion. And if we've given the word that power, like how we gave power to that apple and Eve, and Adam and Eve had to eat it, because we gave power by making it a forbidden fruit, isn't it? So just like that, we've given power to these F words, B words, all that. And if it's a kid in the East Coast, you know, in Malaysia and the East Coast, it's mainly Muslims and Malays. So what's the forbidden word there? Who wants to take a guess? Babi. Babi means pig. It's against the religion. So that little kid is writing Babi, Babi, Babi in the room, in the play therapy room. It hasn't heard the F word and the B word, yeah? So we give power to these words. It's just a word. When the child is using these strong words, they want our attention. They want us to hear them, see them. So when I have sessions with teens, I might use these words even before they use it. But then I'm very clear in my heart and my whole system, my body, that I have no charge attached to the word. I'm not pretending to use that word. I'm really using it. But it's not like no judgment attached to it. And why do I use that? Simply because I want to speak the child's language, isn't it? If you want to make friends with someone, you want to be at the same thing. I want that kid to see I'm not judging him. And I really have no judgment attached to that word. Well, if you had known Sudha 20 years ago or 25 years ago, even if I said that word, I would need to go run and wash my mouth maybe. Yeah? And all that belief systems that strong in me and feeling. I've done a lot of work on me to shift these belief systems where I can sit with very much comfort and use it. And when that child, be it a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the line, that child is feeling very, very accepted by us. You know, like we are real friends. He just feels so accepted. And we can see it because there's a shift in the status of the relationship, how we engage with each other. And that kid is feeling more secure in himself or herself, is grounded. Then that kid, if I tell that kid, hey, you know, I know you really, really want to be heard by others and you use such strong words. It really matters to you that you're heard. And do you think when you use this word in society, do you think they'll hear you or they'll react to you? And you've lost them. Yeah? And then that kid, when it's secure, it's able to receive what I'm saying. When we're not secure, it's always like that, defense. And I could see my father literally having palpitations and feeling uncomfortable when what I'm having this conversation with Swami. And Narasimhamurthy sir was there, Bhuvana was there, Bharati was there, whoever. I said, I don't care, I've got Swami in my hands, yeah. And then Swami said something so beautiful. He said, what you're doing in Malaysia is, no, what I'm doing in here is what you're doing in Malaysia. That was so, so, so touching for me, yeah. It was, hey, it's not about judging a child, it's accepting someone from that space. And I could see my father take a deep breath after that and started breathing again. And then, and he's there, And then he asked him the next question. I said, Swami, I work a lot with adults too, not just teens. I work with adults, yeah? Helping them to have this mind shift, mind stuff. It takes much longer. And I'm willing to support you in however you do this. And then Swami just said something to the equivalent of best of luck. Yeah. Because I said, well, we just best of luck and we keep trying, yeah, our best to shift mindsets. Because even a 10% mindset shift impacts that little kid so much, so much, so much. Yeah. And I'd like to share with you what I came to learn from kids, yeah? Any questions anyone has at this stage? Anyone wants to ask me anything more before I want to show a small slideshow of a little presentation of what I got from kids? Any questions before that? We can put it out in the chat group. Yeah, we have a chat in the side. We'll just wait for a minute. Oh, and then soon after that, Swami went to Japan. That 2016, Swami had asked me, he said, you come to Japan, come to Japan. Bhuvana asked me 2-3 times. And that year, the rule was one representative from each country. And so I said, no, Swami, I'm a very good rule follower. I don't break rules. You said one, Vimala asked me, will you go? I told Vimala, no, you go. And then we have chosen Vimala, yeah, from Malaysia. So I'm not going. I'm not coming. I'm not coming. I kept saying I'm not coming, and I didn't go. And then in that 2016 in Japan, Swami announced over there that there are these 3 books that are necessary to read for those who are in Guru Vikas, you know. One by the farmers, one by Rita Bruce, and a book by Sudha Kudva on children. That was the first time I learned I was going to write a book, okay? I didn't even know that. And then this was the book that came out, finally. And when I was writing this book, I asked, and Swami had come to Malaysia it came out in November 2016. I had some more questions for Swami. I had checked with Bhuvana and she said it's perfectly fine. But my father wasn't fine, mother wasn't fine. I was very fine. So I said, no, I'll check with Swami. So I said, Swami, if we are going to reach out, because for me, it's not about Swami. Yeah, it's not at all about Swami, not about a form. It's nothing about being stuck to a form. It's what we are seeing is way beyond the form. It's reaching out to people. And there's this one opportunity to reach out to people. So for me, then I would not like to put any picture of Swami in the book. And there's one tiny little quote on one-line quote on Swami in this book. Yeah. And because I live in a Muslim country, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Jewish or Hindu or whatever, in the end we are all connected, isn't it? And to reach out to everyone, I'd like just to make it like a general book. And Swami so wholeheartedly agreed and endorsed it. He said, yes, I'm not here about me, it's about humanity. I'm a humanitarian was the words that he said, yeah? Yeah? And so that's how this book came out in end of 2016. It might be the only book in the ashram without pictures of Swami. And so sometimes people have asked those booksellers what I've heard, did Swami give permission to sell this here? And that's how it is. Yeah, and someone's asked this question, thanks. We will answer the small steps. This, as a father of 2 young kids, what advice would you give us? We need to unlearn and relearn how to bring up kids. Yes, we all struggle to do that. Any of us walking that path with kids will struggle immensely. Yeah, and what are the small steps? That's why I'm just going to show that small PowerPoint to understand that small, it's not a small step, it's a big step. Yeah. And you said the right word, we want to role model, not teach. because it's so damn easy to teach, isn't it? Teaching is top down. Role modeling is 100 million times more difficult. And what we role model is what they pick up vicariously. Because whether we like it or not, we are aware of it or not, even when I'm teaching, I'm role modeling something. The unspoken is louder than the spoken, and that role model gets into them. And yesterday I heard a very cute story. This 5-year-old, he had heard the parents arguing. So he went around the house and he came out with a stick. Yeah, he just came out with a stick up there and he said, "Who started this? Who started this? Tell me. When I'm naughty, I get punished. Who was naughty here? They must be punished." Isn't that fair? He's asking for fair play. What a beautiful question, isn't it? I mean, and the parents are asking me, how do we answer this? Or he asks another lovely question. Well, you know, mommy, you're bathing me. You can see my private parts. When can I, how come I can't see yours? Lovely question, isn't it? Fair play. So, I mean, that's the innocence and beauty of kids. And I hear this on a regular basis. And when we don't know how to answer or we give them a bullshitty story, they stop losing faith and trust in us. And they ask somebody else those questions. Or the curiosity gets the better of them and they make a little deal with a boy and a girl to pull down the pants and see each other's. Because we didn't support in understanding it in a healthy way, isn't it? That question the kid asked. It's just pure innocence, exploring, curiosity, nothing else. And then someone caught the kids in the bathroom doing that or somewhere else because they know that adults don't entertain these questions. And oh God, shit hits the fan and it becomes 10 times more ugly, isn't it? And so then a classic answer is a parent might tell me, I might tell the child, I've heard this over the years I've done this work. It's not limited to one parent, yeah? Oh no, child, you've got to wait till you're an adult and then you'll have a special partner and you'll get married, then you can see all this. And then the kid might come home with a partner at 14 years old and say, I'm married, what do you do then? Well, he's followed the rules. We've role modeled it, isn't it? So we want to be so mindful. They are like sponges. What are we putting out? What are we putting out? We can't bullshit them. They can see through our bullshit, as I like to say. Yeah? We can't see through our stuff. They can. Let me just share a video clip here. A little presentation. Just a minute. You see, as I came to try and understand myself and understand kids, just that journey, because I was working a lot with kids in the first year. I was already an adult counselor by then, of kids who are peeing in their pants. I volunteered in a Tamil school and they say, okay, it's play therapy. The kids are already playing in class. Let me give them to you. They can play more. Nothing's going to make them better anyway. And here I was trying to prove a point that this works. And I don't know what the hell it is about. All that I know is they've told us we can't say no. We can't say don't. We can't use a must. We can't use a should. We can't give advice. We can't give this. We can't do that. That means all the tools that I thought I'm supposed to do is taken from me. I'm stripped. And I'm supposed to sit with that kid and he's supposed to get better. I don't know who was feeling more vulnerable in the room, the kid or me. He was supporting me or I was supporting him. I sure didn't know what the hell I was doing. Cleo will attest to that too. I've supervised us after that. We just don't know what the hell we are doing, but we are doing our very best. Trying our best to be authentic without the tools that society tells us, yeah? And the kids that came my way, 8-year-old, stealing big time. In fact, the mother told me, she was a hawker selling fruits outside the school. She said, no, I'm not, you've got so many items in your room. I'm not responsible for anything here if he steals. I'm a very honest lady, Mom. I've never cheated anyone. When my kid will take things, don't blame me. She was trying to take care of her good name. And I was getting more petrified. I was saying, why the hell did I get into this form of therapy? I was pretty attached to all my figurines in the room. Another kid, the father says, you can see him. But I'll let you know now itself. Sometimes he peeps. He pees. And if it happens here, make sure you have gloves because I'm not going to come and clean it up. And he's 10 years old. And then he poops. He poops in his pants in the daytime. And he's doing it just to irritate me. He hates me. That's why he's doing it. Now, I didn't know why he was doing it. Maybe he's doing it to irritate the dad, because I too got scared of the dad. He was a policeman. I was more scared of the dad, I think, than the child. Yeah. And I had such wonky beliefs in my head at that time. And many, many more stories like this I can share with you. And 3 months, 6 months working with these kids. And that kid, who was getting 5%, he was in standard 6 and he was 12 years old, 5% marks. From standard 2 till standard 6, 5% marks. And the teachers were scared of him. He would sit in the back of the class and he would glare at the children. The teachers felt he's glaring at us. We'll just leave him alone. Yeah. And he would come into the room. He was my first kid I worked with. He wasn't using any items in the room. He only wanted to talk. And I'm just thinking, oh shoot, what the hell have I gotten into? He's talking only about being a gangster, having a gun under his bed. And I'm just sitting with my stomach churning, waiting for the session to finish and run to the loo after that, putting on a brave face outside. And these kids, after working over a period of time, and his story is somewhere there in this book, one of the chapters, as these kids, after a period of time, they shifted. And the teachers kept asking me, hey, you know what? What's happening? He's sitting in front of the class now. He's pushed away a boy and he's sitting there. In the exam, he's actually cheating. He's looking into the other person's paper and copying. He's showing an interest. He's showing an interest. And this little kid was teaching me amoeba and protozoa on the whiteboard in the room. So I'm saying, what the hell am I offering these kids that this shift is happening? The enthusiasm of living is coming back. And I kept volunteering in that school for 4 years. Tamil school, the government school, just to get an idea of what the hell am I doing that is bringing about this shift. Yeah. And what am I offering them that I don't seem to understand? And 1,000 hours and plus a lot more with adult therapy and all that stuff. I got to understand what I'm offering them. And I'm just sharing that with you here. We say the best of creation is in me. Yeah. Now, whichever religion we come from, some of us may believe in evolution. Some of us may not believe in evolution because Adam and Eve, we got plonked in. Whichever way we believe in, it doesn't matter. We all can agree that the best of creation is in man. Yeah, man is the best prototype of evolution on planet Earth. And what is man? It's this human body, isn't it? So let's just see this. When I say the best of creation is in me, creation goes way, way back before reptiles. I've just put in this picture here. All of this is in me. Literally, all of this is in our body. It really is. And hey, we still have the reptilian brain so alive in us. We have this very much all in us. And we are also a kind of mammal, isn't it? We have zebras are called mammals, elephants is a kind of mammal. And the name for this mammal is human, isn't it? We are a kind of mammal too, the best mammal on earth. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Yeah? Well, if we really haven't paused to understand that mammalian side of us, we are just working against ourselves. Yeah? Is what I've got to come to understand from children. And it's now very well backed up by these top researchers in the world, Stephen Porges, for those of you all who are therapists here, Stephen Porges, the polyvagal theory, Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, Pat Ogden, Sue Johnson, Roger Solomon. I've done so much work with some of them directly and some with just the next level after. Yeah. We've got the best of both worlds in us, that mammalian kingdom and our smart brain. Yeah. What do I mean by that smart brain? That smart brain, we need it very much. It helps provide food on the table, that shelter, that livelihood needs. We need that. That smart brain focuses and the whole work industry outside. Yeah, companies, organizations, countries. We are constantly, what's the smart brain about? Yeah, we are constantly living in the world. What's it about? It's trained very well in cognition, logical abilities. Yeah, from the minute we are born, is she walking on time? Is she breathing on time? Is she taking the steps on time? Is she flipped over on time? We are constantly looking at the performance. Yeah. From kindergarten, school, university work, the focus is on, I say KPI, key performance index. Is my kid matching the index? Not the index, take it for sport. Not the index, take it for this. Take it for extra tuition class. Take it for this, take it for that. Yeah. Have we actually, so what's the smart brain about? I'm calling it a smart brain. In terms of evolution, this is about 3 million years old. There's a picture in this book here. It's about 3 million years old. We gave it so much of importance. Hey, each one's wanting their kid to go to Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Ivy League. And the other day, maybe a month ago, someone called me saying, Ma, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing everything right. I've even put my little kid in this kindergarten called Cambridge to motivate her correctly. Why is she having such behaviors? What's going wrong? Yeah. I mean, she really didn't know. And that's why with a passion and with enthusiasm, I want to spread awareness. We don't know. We're just chasing that. The world's given importance to this. The focus of the smart brain is constantly on evaluation, isn't it? Evaluation, evaluation, evaluation. Found short on the markers of evaluation? What do we do when we are found short on the markers of evaluation? Could some of you all share on the chat here? If we are falling short on the markers of evaluation, then what do we adults do? To ourselves or to kids? What do we do? Just typing in 3 or 4 of you all. Yeah, just to make this interactive. Thanks. We move to correct it. Yeah, a few more answers. It takes a lot of courage to share on chat. And when one person is sharing, we are talking for everybody else who isn't. Thank you so much. Yeah. We go into correcting the kid. We go into punishing the kid. We go into judging the kid. We go into judging ourselves. What am I doing less that the kid is not able to meet that index? We are going into blame and shame. Blaming the kid, blaming ourselves, shaming the kid, shaming ourselves. And showing that anger. pushing harder. Yep. Thanks. Thanks so much, all of you who are here, for putting this out so courageously. I'm guilty of all this. I just wish I knew this 2-3 decades earlier. Well, that's such as life. Yeah. I wish, and now it's a passion to spread it for the awareness to others. The people started, even this polyvagal theory guy, Stephen Porges, their passion, and they put it out in 1997 finally. Yeah, understanding this human body. We make a lot of assumptions. Thanks. I'm going back to screen sharing now. Found short on the markers of evaluation. Lot of anxiety in us. Pushing to improve till catching up happens. Yeah. And then guess what? After some time, the catching up happens. Now what's happening? Back on evaluation. We are found high on the markers of evaluation. We should be happy, isn't it? We should be satisfied. We should be content. Guess what happens? Again, it's good old anxiety. It's a no-win cycle. It's like the hamster on the hamster wheel. We can't get off it. Anxiety to maintain those high standards. That stress is lovely. When it's in that optimal stress, it's called eustress. It's lovely. But very many of us are in distress. Yeah? Too much distress this way or distress that way. We are not in that eustress space. We are constantly in a space of judging ourselves and finding ourselves short, which means the body is in constant hyper-arousal state. Yeah? And the body doesn't judge. Huh? The body is so non-judgmental. It's a smart brain that's constant. I'm calling it smart brain. Yeah? Because I found this lovely picture on Shutterstock that puts it out so well, the inside of that part of it. Because the human body, this body just doesn't judge at all. I finally got to understand the meaning of non-judgmental. That body just doesn't judge. But we are constantly judging in different states. And who are the clients we work with as therapists? Well, in private practice, we charge a particular rate, isn't it? And if you need to be, and people who work with me, I can say that, they come to understand there are two concepts if you come in to work with a therapist. You can either see yourself paying money to a therapist, and I'm burning a hole in my pocket, and that's all you're going to take back from the session. Or you can see it as, I'm worth it, I'm investing in me. I'm investing in me, I'm the most valuable possession I have. And oh, they come in for the whole 9 yards and they grow in leaps and bounds. Yeah? Because body doesn't judge anxiety. Anxiety is lovely. Anxiety is happening, productivity happens. That's all it is. But in that space of that level of anxiety, productivity can happen. 2 plus 2, 2 plus 8, 2 plus 25, it can do it. Mindless productivity. If we want creativity, expansion, empathy. I don't mean empathy of donating money and going to leprosarium and daycare. I don't mean that empathy and compassion. I mean moment to moment daily empathy and daily compassion. If I've screwed up, I feel compassion for myself instead of beating myself up. Yeah? Screwed up means I made a mistake. That daily moment to moment empathy, compassion, that only exists in the safe zone. It doesn't exist in the zone where anxiety happens. And that's what little kids showed me. Yeah? And I really got to understand this from them. So I'm just sharing a secret here, which I wish would become an open secret. Hey, we are also mammals. We are just not the smart brain and humans on top of the world. Guess what? Right now, we are in the cages and we are wearing the muzzles and we are learning how uncomfortable it is to be. And they are the ones roaming around freely, isn't it? I mean, we think we are the best product of evolution. I need to correct that statement. This human mammal comes into the world with this body. This is my human body. Yeah? It comes into the world with an inbuilt physiological, I'm not saying psychological, physiological, biological, neurological, biochemical, all the logicals. It has an imperative for connection. It can't live without connection. We just can't, isn't it? And we know that from coronavirus, someone doesn't follow, hey, we can all get it. It spreads like wildfire. We are, and one thing in the world that we are all connected now. The rich, the poor, the whoever, whichever country, fear of the tiny invisible thing that we can't see and trying to contain it. We are all really connected, finally, in such a ironic way. Now imagine me, I'm like a cup. Yeah, this cup, that's me, I. But if we really look at us, each of us, we are just all different cups, different colors, different things. Black lives matter, white lives matter, all lives matter. My life matters, isn't it? And if each one could see my life matters and place a value on ourselves, then we know how to value other lives. And what does connection mean? It just means what Swami keeps on saying, it's I to we. See that bigger picture we, yeah? And to really understand we really need to understand me, myself, that mammalian side of me, as I'd like to say. Yeah? The body knows this, and our smart brain may not fully grasp this. So what am I saying when I keep saying body all this time? And this human body and its biological imperative for connection. Yeah? This physical body, it comes into the world, isn't it? This body has come into the world. It's either pushed out, if it comes out through the vagina, and if it's a cesarean, it's pulled out, isn't it? What happens next? Can you all just type in some answers? What happens next? It's this physical body. It's just come into the world. Yeah? What happens next? Just typing it out. I just work with the mundane, everyday stuff, and the bigger stuff takes care of itself. Yeah? We're saying it tries to connect with the mother, a big cry. Before the big cry happens, what happens? It's just a body that comes in. It's literally like a dead body that comes in, okay? What's happening? Oh, no, before they cut, I'm not sure whether it happens before they cut the umbilical cord or after they cut it. What happens? The doctor gives it a little whack, isn't it? A physical stimulus. And wah, it cries that loudly. What's that cry? It's taking its first breath. Am I right? That body gets its first breath. Now the body has come alive. Yeah? Before that it was, hey, what's the difference? The doctors work so hard to make sure it gets that first breath. Yeah? After it gets its first breath, hey, we've got a baby here now. It comes alive. Then we give it a name with such excitement. Sudha, Yuriko, Cleo, Johnny, Tanya, whatever. That body gets a name. And we clean forget that it is a body. We just clean forget about the body. We give so much importance to that name. We drag the body along, force the body along to do whatever we want. Yeah? And then the body's exhausted. No, we've got another 2 hours of work. Guess what? I've recognized when I'm exhausted and I do 2 hours of work. Next morning, I look at it. I wish I had slept 2 hours earlier. It really wasn't up to much. What I do next morning when I'm more rested, I can do in half an hour what I was trying to do for 2 hours in that mindless state. The body was tired. I was pushing it along. Yeah? This body reacts to physical stimuli, the whack, and social stimuli. We've totally forgotten there's something called social stimuli. We may forget. This mammalian body cannot survive without being connected. Yeah? And this little body, this is a very little body when it's born, a little body. Yeah? This is the most vulnerable creature on planet Earth when it's born, this body. Even the giraffe mammal, the body of a giraffe. I have a lovely video clip that I'm not showing here. It plonks from the mother, it comes out, it falls that far down. No brain injury, okay? Within 15 minutes, it can stand up and go and nuzzle at the mother or suckle milk or whatever. The placental sac is still hanging out from the mother. This human baby, this human mammal, takes almost a year to be able to stand up. Why? That part of the brain development happens outside of the womb. Because you see, us mammals, we became two-legged instead of four-legged. So the size of the brain had to be sacrificed. It has to come out through the vagina, yeah? And so it makes it the most vulnerable creature on planet Earth, which means it is so much more on lookout for social stimuli. Social stimuli. Social stimuli, what happens? Social stimuli happens during interactions. That interaction, genuine connection happens, or fake connection happens, or no connection happens, isn't it? And what I learned from little kids is if I impose on them and I try and teach them by giving advice or all that stuff, connection isn't happening. I'm imposing and the body cannot handle it. They're not receptive to it. And which is that age we really value connection as that baby, and when we are from the cradle and at the grave time. Yeah, in between we forget about the need for connection. We're so busy living life. Just see the evolution of man from so many years. The skull evolved, and we've reached here, isn't it? How so? My ancestors, the 6 billion years, a million years ago, my ancestors, they sure communicated, isn't it? They knew the value of each other. They depended on each other. Healthy dependence. They didn't have words. That part of the brain hadn't developed yet to have the words like we have now. That developed over time. But they still did communicate. And that's why we as a species could survive till we've reached here, isn't it? So how the hell did they communicate then? Very differently. Very differently. That system is still alive in us. It doesn't mean that system went away and now we've got this smart brain here that knows it all. That system is so alive in us. And that body, that system for connection, for genuine connection, it's constantly looking out for, can I trust? Can I trust? Can I trust? Safe. Not trust, danger, survival. And then it goes on all that. So we really want to understand that human body. And that's what we would be doing, a certain level of understanding over the next 5 sessions for those of you who sign up and come for that, yeah? Let's see that system so alive in animals. We're so much in touch with it. We can learn from them about that system. Why do I go back to animals? To help us connect with that system in us.
To have a relationship with a wild creature, first you have to have a relationship with yourself. You have to know who you are. Because these animals are not automatically going to trust anything. These animals have to worry about survival. They have to worry about eating. And they have to worry about being eaten.
Yeah. What is that little baby human who is so vulnerable? It is totally in tune with us about its survival for food, or it can be eaten, metaphorically. Yeah. And how do I know this? Again, I've been blessed or privileged enough to work with so many clients who have trusted me and learning of them from the inside. And a simple example. This mom, and a few moms I can say this, I'm just bringing in one person in mind when I'm sharing with you all, had a premature baby, a preemie, in the ICU, with all those tubes running through it. And doctors and nurses would go near the baby. And each time the mother came in, and the mother just touched the little one's finger. Yeah. The heartbeat and the whole thing would go into so much hyperarousal, the code blue would come, the doctors would drag the mom away from the baby. Yeah. And then the mom, and we had some time together and helping her see, Mom, you're going in to see that little baby with your level of anxiety. Will she live? Will she not live? Will he live? Will he not live? Can we work on yourself and take away that anxiety? Can you come to an acceptance that this little thing came into my life and it may live, it may go? Can we just accept that it's journey day to day? And we did a lot of work on that, trauma therapy, whatever. And for her to be able to accept this concept. You're telling me I'm supposed to think positively, I'm supposed to have hope, and you're telling me don't have hope. I'm not saying don't have hope. I'm just saying see that kid as the kid is, I-S, in this moment. And she said, okay, so I'll give you a try. And she knows me well enough for a couple of years. And she went back. 2 weeks later or something, the doctors allowed the next skin-to-skin contact. And the mother and baby slept for half an hour. And the doctors were asking, what did you do? What's the difference? The baby felt the acceptance. I have to, and that's what animals ask for. Know yourself and come and accept me as I am with no judgment. No expectation is a judgment, isn't it? And thanks to all these moms, and I literally get tears in my eyes when I share this. They've helped me grow and understand the meaning of that. And over time, the dad started becoming jealous. How come the babies are coming to you and not to me? She's like, go do work with Sudha. It's that process of acceptance, yeah? Let's see a little bit more. Just to learn from animals that I need to accept me before I interact with the kid. Accept me doesn't mean I'm perfect. Respect my strengths. Respect my limitations. Acceptance doesn't mean perfection at all. Respect my limitations rather than fear my limitations or brush aside my limitations, yeah? An example of that, just to give an example before I start this, if I'm working with a kid who's sharing something that's pretty scary for me when I hear that kid saying, I only like dark music, heavy music, this music, that music, death metal, heavy metal, whatever, all that stuff. I'm able to share honestly with that kid. I mean, this was that start of my journey on learning about me The kids helped me learn about me, yeah? It was reverse. Being able to say, hey, when I hear that music, it's so scary for me. Not pretending I like the music or, I go along with you. That authentic relationship. It's so scary for me when I hear that music and my whole insides are churning. And obviously you are getting something different from that music. Very different. Help me understand, help me grow. And then when that kid is able to say, that kid is a teenager, who says, oh Sudha, when I'm in that deep pain, that loneliness, that emptiness, that hollowness, that sadness, I feel there's nobody else who will understand my pain. And I play this music. I feel there is someone out there in the world who's had this experience. I'm not alone. And in fact, I feel better after listening to this music. That biological imperative for connection helps the healing. Yeah? That's how deep our need is. These children have helped me grow. I've been blessed and privileged to have them in my life. Yeah? I'm just showing you that need for connection and how much misunderstanding happens if we don't open ourselves to understand a whole different concept of it. Let's see this one.
But these animals are extremely aware and conscious beings for what they have to do in this world. They're not aware like humans are, but we're not aware like they are. When they look out of their eyes, they don't see what we see. And some of them see ultraviolet light. Some of them can see very clearly at hundreds of yards, can read a newspaper. Some of them can't see more than a foot away from their head. Some of them see colors. Some of them don't see colors. When they listen with their ears, what they hear is not the same as we hear. When they taste, the taste buds are different. When they smell, some of them can smell hundreds of times better than we can. Some of them can hardly smell at all. They all have their own input of senses and their own sense of being, of who they are and how they react to the world around them. And then we as human beings have the ability to reach out to them, and they have the ability to reach out to us. When the being of that wild animal, the being of that human inside you are yearning to communicate and yearning for a relationship, and it touches, that's the magic.
Yeah. And that's it. Now we saw different animals. Hey, just like that, we have all those animals in us. Sometimes don't I come across like a lion, like a tigress, like a rabbit, like different parts of us. Kids show different behaviors. Each one is unique in its own strengths and limitations, whereas we are so busy grading them and trying to mold them to be someone without giving them that opportunity to be who they are, yeah, and discover that for themselves. We fear it, they might choose the wrong thing, so we jump in the way. It's all fear, yeah. And so we all yearn for that connection, that relationship, be it animals or humans. And the worse the behavior of a kid, the worse we know, the greater we know is the depth of lack of connection to us and to themselves. That body is, when that body is so tight inside, it's lit. This is my body that's tight inside, that's hyper aroused and anxious. It's literally not connected to the head. It thinks from a lower part of the brain. We have different parts of the brain accessible to us. Yeah? When that body is here, there's a body-mind connection. When the body is tight, it's literally that part of a brain is not accessible. It's a whole different part. And that's why we want to work on building that relationship first so that it's accessible, however long it takes. And then magic happens. And let's see what happens with kids. Kids are very, very much more in touch with this blueprint of themselves than us. We've become corrupted over the time, over time, filled with our own baggages, picked up consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously. And animals help us to reconnect to that. Kids do the same thing because they are very much in touch with that mammalian blueprint.
With my wolf, she really helped me with the meditative mindfulness practice. Because if I was in this wolf's enclosure and I started to think about something else, immediately, within seconds, that wolf knew I was not 100% with her. And she would lift up her lip and start growling at me, telling me, you are here with me now, you be here. Don't think about other things, don't be outside this thing. Be with the magic that's taking place with me and you at this moment. She was physically telling me.
And that's what it is when we are with kids. They want our presence in the moment. And sometimes parents don't understand this. I sure didn't if I didn't do this work with kids, and it's so lost to the world. I played half an hour with my child. Why is she still pestering me for more time? The kid didn't, takpuashati, it was not fulfilled, It didn't get plenitude, it didn't get satisfaction because it could pick up our absence. And they literally growl at us. Next minute, the water falls down, the milk falls down, they're kicking us, something happens. Those behaviors manifest to show us our absence. Kids show us that. And we don't understand it. The most classic question I get very often is, the day I've come home most tired, that's the time my child acts up the most. Do I have a little monster in my house? No, so kid can pick up your absence and the kid gets so anxious, and from that anxiety, those kind of behaviors manifest. That's all it is. They protest. They want us to be in the magic of that moment. Thanks to working for so many hours with kids, they've helped me understand this. And what's the magic of that moment of acceptance? We'll see another video clip and then I'll share that. This human body comes into the world with a huge, super complex system to look out for social stimuli. It's so complicated. It's too much to go into in this session. I'm just showing you this. It's got all these nerves here. It's got the brainstem here. It's going into different parts of the brain. Hyperarousal, one part of the brain shuts down, the other parts are available. Disconnection happens. And from the womb, the year shifts. Those who come for the 5 days, you'll hear a little bit of me sharing about this part. From the womb it's happening. All this is happening so deeply from the womb. The whole system is built for connection. That's what I'm showing. And we don't recognize it, we overwrite this. Many a time, we want that kid to do what we want. And let's see, and it's never going to happen in my time and pace.
When we go out into nature, a lot of people will want the animals to come to them. And in their mind, they're going, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. If you saw somebody who was attractive and you wanted to start a conversation with them, would you walk over to them and go, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, I love you, I love you, I love you. You're the biggest creep in the world, you'd probably call the police on you. If we're always pushing and always doing our human ways of domineering a landscape with our presence, these other living beings are just going to move away from us. They're not going to want to deal with our arrogance and the energy that we're putting out there. What we need to do is go to that 0 point, go to that place of quietness inside, where we can start to have relationships and start to understand what's going on around us. to have a relationship with a wild creature has a lot to do with respect. But understanding the living being that's in front of you, and that it is alive, so it has all the rights that it needs to exist. It doesn't need a manifesto so humans can prove that it has some sort of benefit to humans, so we now can keep this animal alive.
Just like that. We keep saying, come here, come here, come here. I have this to give you. I have lots of love to offer you. Many a time we don't recognize it. They're not going to come to us. Because I could be imposing on the kid. Yeah, without us realizing we are imposing on the kid. Instead, they get distant from us. They want to run away. I accept you conditionally. If you can put that, leave your shirt tucked in and the belt inside the loop, and the t-shirt that doesn't have those presumptuous sayings on it, then you're welcome here. Hey, so I don't want to be part of you, isn't it? Yeah, if we don't recognize, but we may be overriding on a kid, overriding in our style of interaction with that human being, wanting it to happen in my time and space. And it's not going to happen like that at all. No kid needs a manifesto, as they said it, and a KPI to show I have a right to exist. Just that the very fact you're born, you have a right to exist and live. And when we can show them that in our connection with them, in our genuinity and authenticity, the kids that we work with, I mean, what you all work with, you know, many of you all who volunteer, any kid, then they start finding themselves and start feeling secure in themselves. And they're able to access the higher part of their brains, where empathy, compassion, curiosity, care for another, and those behaviors we call positive social behaviors manifest. Yeah, we offer kids our presence. Presence doesn't mean being calm all the time and meditative. Absolutely not. I show them my anxiety. I show them my vulnerability. Just offering them an authentic relationship. Yeah, we offer them this. And kids working with this taught me this with a lot of tears, sadness. Wish I had known this much, much earlier. So my generation, you know, when we were younger, my kids could have benefited from this. And people in my generation. Yeah. What I look for when I work with kids, I don't look for love. I don't use that word love at all. Or any of my clients, I'm being very honest here because one of the questions Shamini sent me was about love, yeah? I don't use the word love. And those who know me, good, nice, fine, and love are banned from my therapy room. And then they say, why are we paying you so much, Sudha? Because we're paying you to understand love. Because love gets such a screwed up meaning. If in childhood I got a lot of pushes and whacks, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm pushing you to study because I love you. Otherwise, why would I do it? What we role modeled was pushing. And that got associated in the brain with love. And that's what they could look for later on. Yeah, in relationships. So love can get screwed up, the meaning of the word love. Yeah, and let's just do so. I'm just looking for trust. And as we offer them that genuine connection, authentic, they gravitate towards us. Yeah, they just gravitate and that shift happens. Yeah, I'm just coming back to this. And as I said, I don't use that word love. Yeah. So let's just talk on a little, what is the opposite of love? Just to make sure that you all have understood me clearly and don't go back with a wrong impression. What is the opposite of love? Just typing in some words here. Yeah, just each one put in some words. Looking for 4 or 5 words. Because if we ever want to understand one word, we want to see what it is not, isn't it? Yeah. Anger, judgment. No, lack of love is 3 words. Huh? So when there is, I saw some other answers here. Yeah. When I see judgment, when there is judgment happening, when there is non-acceptance happening, what's the emotion running below? If you can just type in one word, thank you, fear. Thank you, Yuriko. So the opposite of love, when you look at it in depth, is fear. The most common answer I get is opposite of love is hate, or opposite of love is indifference. Yeah? When there's indifference, I can go on for a whole 2 hours, so I won't even start now. But just coming, opposite of love is fear. And our job as a therapist or whatever I do is to shift that human being from being in survival states of disconnection to themselves, connection to me, connection to themselves. And what's the opposite of fear? Not love. What's the opposite of fear? Yeah, if you look below expectation, there's fear. You look below betrayal, there's fear. You look below rejection, there's fear. Look below hatred, there's fear. Thanks, safety. So opposite of fear is safety. And in a safe space, yeah, then we can trust. And then you can call it love, you can call it whatever you want. If you look into Greek philosophy, there are 6 kinds of love, and it gets complicated. I leave that to Swami. That's too complicated and beyond me, okay? My job, or whatever we do, is just to shift that human being from fear, living in survival state, to feeling safe, able, connection, can trust, feeling secure, feeling grounded, being connected within, yeah? Rather than separation. And then whatever we want to call it, we can. We want to be, if we are working with kids, we want to make sure, work very hard on ourselves so that I am approachable. Approachable means I am safe. Yeah, I am approachable. So as I like to say, no kid lies. What is it about me that when that kid approached me, the throat went tight and the body literally physically goes tight. The throat goes tight, the whole system goes tight, the throat is held back and some lie comes out. Like that. They never meant to lie. There was no trust, yeah? That the body couldn't trust and the truth couldn't come out. That's what it is. Any questions? And that's the work we do every day. And Cleo does that. We do that on different levels of intensity and depth. Any questions, any things? We still have 10 minutes more, I think. Or anything I was not clear, you're looking for clarification. It's open for questions now.
Can I ask just a question?
Yeah, sure.
This is probably not my original one, but actually when you started speaking, you know, my mind's being prompted now. And when you touched on acceptance, when we're with a child and that power of acceptance, and this is a very big topic, so maybe just briefly, if you wanted to respond to, this is more teaching related, but can be parenting as well, rewards and punishment.
Yeah.
It's such a systemic thing for us to jump straight into, and I'm only delving into the literature of it now, sort of the detrimental effects it has on children. And I would love to hear your thoughts, your wisdom.
That's a classic question we get asked by parents, and it's when parents start work in my place of work. Just to share how I work. 2 years ago, I set up my own practice with 3 other partners and all that. We work systemically. Systemically means the child is part of a system. So if there's some issues happening, one cog in the wheel isn't okay, you've got to look at the other cogs too. And if a child comes and does work with us and shifts he doesn't fit into the system. And so within 5-10 sessions, he or she wants to stop sessions. It's too painful to become aware and not get that support from home. Isn't it? Especially if they're below 12. If they're 15, 16 above, they come to see that they're more aware than the parents over time. And if it's huge, anorexia, bulimia, OCD, then the parents have to be part of the system. But coming back to this, the parents would ask me this question, what about rewards and punishment? When we bring in rewards, okay, I don't punish, but can I give rewards? Both of them are external locus of control. Anything that's an external locus of control, we are teaching the kid manipulation, isn't it? So now I'll give you a candy, I'll give you an ice cream. It's so easy to do that. It's so damn easy to do it. And the kid becomes smart. We role model that, isn't it? We beautifully role modeled it. The kid has reached 16. Mom, you want me to go to that university? You've got to promise me you'll buy me a BMW bike and the leather jacket. Well, we role model that and they're repeating it to us. We don't like hearing it now. And we call him ungrateful kid, isn't it? And over time, and does that work in real life? Because you go into the working place and you ask the boss, I'm going to work, I'll work till 2 a.m. every night. Are you going to give me that bonus of 100,000? Doesn't happen like that. But we set them up when we do this reward business. And so then parents ask me, you're asking me to take away the phone, the kid is good. I give you 15 minutes screen time. I give you 20 minutes screen time as the latest reward now. Yeah, one of the latest rewards, not ice cream and chocolate anymore. And so then we say, instead of that, what is the child looking for? It's looking to engage with something. Yeah, engage with something. And it gets a sense of feeling good. Can you give 15 minutes of your time? Can you say, hey, we'll play a board game. We'll do this or we'll do that. So over time, don't wait for the results to come out before you reward them. Hey, you worked hard for this exams. I saw you working. Oh, you worked your best. Maybe procrastination was happening. And that was the best you could do it. And then I spent a whole hour helping parents understand procrastination. Yeah, that's a whole different story here. So your kid did its very best. If you can try believing that. The reward or appreciation of the effort is all go out for a family meal or family activity at the end of that period, not waiting for the results to come.
Yeah, so you're acknowledging the process and the progress rather than the outcome.
Absolutely. The process, the progress, the effort. The effort, yeah. And the child feels visible, feels valued, feels seen, feels important, feels I matter. Not I'm loved, I matter. Yeah.
I see so much with rewards and punishment that it's a conditional thing. My love is conditional, dependent on whether you do this or whether you do that. And then there's the labeling of the naughty and, there's labels that we give. And it's such a crossover in teaching as well, because it's a quick fix. I can do this star chart. And there's a little bit of an argument between like primary school teachers and early childhood teachers where I am at the moment, because primary school teachers are set upon the reward system. That's how you get the results. And I think you can, once they're younger, you can start a different way, and it doesn't have to be about rewards and punishments.
Yeah. And the most classic thing I hear, or I've heard so far, is, you see, below puberty, with a kid, we can get away with murder. Literally murder, because the thinking capacity is different along the developmental stages. So below puberty, we do anything. That kid is so dependent on us, and the thinking hasn't come into that full bloom. once puberty hits and the hormones are shifting, you know, we see all the hair coming up, the voice shifting. It's like your computer. The computer's getting another download. And now it is able to see, hey, I wasn't naughty. My mom has a short temper. They're able to make that difference. Abstract thinking and all that is coming in. But however, it does not pull out that seed that was planted. I'm naughty, I'm bad, I'm inadequate, I'm stupid, I'm whatever. That remains for a lifetime humming in the background. And so what happens is primary school teachers, oh no, I give rewards, I manage the kid very well. The secondary school teachers in the same building would say, I'm struggling with that kid. And primary teachers get away with it. But coming here, that system doesn't work. And all the whackings, all that shaming, you know, the subtle shaming, direct shaming, all that crap we can do, yeah? The eye rolling, all that stuff doesn't work anymore. And the kid is rebelling. It's coming up. So that's why if I try and the challenge I face is I would do a lot of awareness work in kindergartens and primary schools, free talks a lot, and not really much follow up after that because they are not interested. But they'll keep your number. And 4 years later, 5 years later, they're in touch with you. The kid is in puberty now, or, you know, between 13, 14, 15. And now they're willing to come for any workshops. I say the shit is bigger, smellier, stinkier, greasier, more difficult to work with. It's sad because now the control isn't working. And then some have bought this book and say, Sudha, nowhere has it told me how I can control my child better. It doesn't work for them. Yeah. It's not about control, always offering them a sense of control, never about control. Because when I don't have a sense of control, the body goes into lack, it's looking to control. And that's what happened to us. Yeah? A lot of us didn't receive this style of interactions growing up. And so when we interact with kids, we slip so fast into borrowing power from our various hats we wear to gain a sense of control, to get control. No? Did that help?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. It's just reinforcing where I'm heading towards with a lot of my study at the moment, and wrapping my head around it and recognizing that we so easily fall into that trap because we want to quickly control the situation, and we're slaves to the clock as well. You know, in school we've got to deal with this, and allowing children a bit of power means it might take more time, you know, to teach them negotiating, and then it's okay to give them more time. And you're setting them up for long-term skill development rather than short-term I'll step in and take control. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Leo, would you like to share a little? Like, she sees the same thing in the first 3, 4, 5 months in the kindergarten. It's a huge struggle, and then later it falls into place. Do you want to share your struggle, Cleo?
Actually, what Sophie mentioned about we always have the time limit, like one class we have to move to another class, so there's a timetable, it's fixed. So it's really difficult to give that attention to each and every child in the class. Yeah, I think that's my main struggle in a school setting. So it really need to be creative. Yeah, instead of it's very easy to give rewards, like sit on that corner, or I'll give you this color later on, or whatever. You can bring your toy tomorrow if you do this. So it's really be creative on your, how to say it,
interaction.
Like interaction. Yes, the acknowledging the effort. Acknowledging the effort, practice. At first, it wasn't really when I learned this from Sudha, it was coming out like mechanically. Like I'm not really feeling it, but I know in my head that I need to do this though I'm not seeing any changes or shift in the behavior the next day, the day after, I just put myself, I need to do this. I need to do this. It took a toll on me. It was really tiring. Would come up, go back home exhausted, my throat painful when I started teaching. 1 month, I couldn't talk. Nothing is coming out, very airy. I had sore throat, went to see different doctors, some tubes coming to my throat. Like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, I reflected, I was screaming and screaming. Like, I was not screaming, but talking loud. Because children, when they're dysregulated, they're like moving. So my way is to control them using my tone, my voice. So, but then I learned from her effort, acknowledge the effort. It's not really coming from my heart. I can say now, it was mechanically, like, oh, you colored this red. I was like, okay, so what does it mean for me? It doesn't mean anything for me, but for the child, maybe it means something else. Like just acknowledging the effort. Oh, you took this pen and you put it back. Like, okay, just acknowledge the effort, every effort.
At least once a day for one.
Yes, because if you have like 10 children, at least one. I learned from her, like, how do you balance acknowledging the effort to each and every child in the school? So at least one. At least one. Do something that when I go back home, I would think, oh, I connected with each and every child in different ways. We do that, right? We go back home, you sit, reflect, like, how am I feeling? Today I'm feeling like, oof, I did something quite not right. And then there are days that I'm happy. I still have the energy. So yeah, at least connect with a child once, or at least one effort.
One statement.
One statement,
to one kid where the child feels visible and seen, and see the difference in a few months.
Yes, that was the struggle before, but now I can see we are doing online classes because of the COVID, right? And they are the ones even telling this to themselves, like, oh, okay, teacher, I want to share something later. They are not pushy, like, I want to talk now, I want to talk. Everybody wants to talk in online classes. So, okay, teacher, like, I want to talk later. They are the ones telling me that, okay, teacher, see, I am going to wait for this to finish and I'm going to talk after. So they're the ones do.
And what Cleo is sharing very much is the kid is able to regulate.
Yes.
That's what she's saying. As we give them that attention, that they feel visible, I matter. Over time, they're able to regulating, knowing that I matter and she will come to me.
Yes. And I saw that they're also the empathy or the concern they give to others. It's genuine. It's not mechanical. Yeah, especially online, you can really see the reactions. If one child is sharing and another one talk, so this child sharing will scream like, I'm talking. So another one will come, hey, like, she is feeling upset. Like, they're also acknowledging what happening with another child without feeling scared, like, oh, she's shouting, like, I want to run away. Like, hey, they are able to acknowledge also the feelings of the other child without running away from this child. If this child has intense emotions, or aggressive, they say aggressive, or
Thanks for sharing that, Sophie. Am I correcting, am I directing, or am I connecting? Lovely. Thanks for sharing with all of us. Thanks. Any questions, Shamini, or we're out of time? Up to you.
I'll just get Sister Pavitra to
Hi, Auntie. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm actually working in an international school in Malaysia. So I've been teaching in a primary school, and currently I teach in a secondary school. And I have this boy with me. He's such a darling. Darling. We actually build the trust that this boy actually comes and talks to me a lot of his personal things, a lot about his family. And there was one time he actually came and asked me about talking about girlfriend relationship and all that. But in the midst of my conversation with him, he makes statements like, Miss Pavitra, you don't have to be very nice to me. You just have to treat me like all the other teachers treat me. And I know that this boy has been labeled since young. I know I've actually heard about his childhood stories. I've heard about his parents. I've heard a lot of things, a lot of his surroundings. And I know that he's being labeled since young. And at the moment, I'm trying to bring out that, he's actually a wonderful boy. He's actually a beautiful boy. But at times that, that there's some situation that I can't support him. I know many teachers also have this kind of situation where the child is being labeled, you see, and we, at some point that we just don't know what to do. So Auntie, can you actually help us with, what to do?
Rather than label, see, for example, we see a kid lazy, procrastinating. What label do we put on the kid? Lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or some label like that. If you take away the label and just see what is the behavior. For example, we get kids, the kids that we work with are all heavily labeled, yeah, with all patches everywhere they're coming in. And in our first session, even if it's a 5-year-old, we've got to address those labels. Yeah, because a child needs to know, how does a 5-year-old know what is therapy and why he's coming in for? Isn't it? So we've got to address the labels. So then what do? We just focus on the behavior, which means we might tell that kid, yeah, who's 5 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, hey, your mom has shared, your teachers have shared this, and they see that you are struggling inside. And they're bringing you here, hoping we can support you. So when you're struggling inside, how do we know you're struggling inside? The behaviors like stealing is happening, lying is happening, shouting is happening, screaming is happening, sitting in front of that book for so long and not able to do that stuff is happening. Just talking about the behaviors objectively. Lots of angry is happening and throwing of things is happening. Yeah. And when all this stuff is happening, a lot of the inside could feel kind of yucky. Yeah. Or the inside is feeling kind of tight. They won't know tight. So we say yucky. You could feel like, when there is a wound in your hand and there is like pus inside, mom cleans the wound and you feel better. But the process of feeling better is painful. And so parents are bringing in you here to clean that wound. And would you be willing to work with us? And the kid understands it, and it's fascinating how they understand, and they're coming in. And the more we provide, they come into the session seeing us as adults from their worldview of adults. They project that on us because that's all they're used to. And our job is to create a safe atmosphere or an authentic adult, yeah? Where I can actually share what's happening in me. The age appropriate, time appropriate, context appropriate. That's boundaries healthily. And that's how shift happens. So that's how you would be putting out. If you wanted to talk to that kid, hey, you say many other teachers see you differently and I see you differently. I really don't understand. Help me understand. How do you think others see you? And what am I doing different? Ask him there. Otherwise, it's just assumptions, isn't it, in my head? Start from there, asking him. Huh? Just starting from there. You're saying others see you differently, I see you differently. I'm confused. How have others seen you differently? How has that impacted you? I don't know. I'm curious to know. I'm eager to know. I want to learn. Help me understand. Giving the child a space to talk. But we can't pretend I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm smiling outside. The kid can see through that, and that the talking shifts, the story shifts. Because we don't just see with our eyes and our ears and all that. If you attend the next 5 sessions, you'll understand a bit more. You see, even from our gut and inside of us, we are picking up stuff. Yeah. So we just want to be authentic and ask and build that relationship so that he can reframe the narrative of him in his head, the narrative created by so many other teachers that he has made his own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Auntie, it makes a lot of sense. I've never spoken about him expressing about himself. He always talks a lot of things, but yeah, now it makes so much of sense. I think I should start reflecting on that now. Thank you so much, Auntie.
Thanks for asking.
Auntie, just one quick question.
Yeah.
For us who do classes for kids who come with abuse backgrounds or even any classroom setting, if there's a kid who is not participating or who is disruptive, how do we approach this? How do we approach this situation without having to shame the child in front of everyone, or giving other kids the impression that it's okay to be disruptive, or also we don't want to ignore the child because that's also not something that is helpful for the child. So knowing all these things, could you give us some examples of how you would
deal with it?
Yeah.
Now you said distraction. Help me understand, the kid is distracted. What is that behavior specifically? Distraction is too vague. It's too big for me to understand. I need it more simple. Just give me specific behaviors. Example.
So if they're talking to another child during, if there's an activity they've given them, or if you're trying to say something and then they're making noise, or they're talking to each other, or they're doing their own stuff, clearly not participating in the class.
Yeah. So when a child, if a lot of abuse has happened, just to understand abuse in depth, if the magic of being a human being is to be able to be still in silence. Still means not be defensive in silence. Now, when abuse has happened, it's very difficult to be still, because the minute the body is still, like the iceberg, the abuse comes up. So they need to be distracted all over to keep it under wraps. Yeah. It's difficult to focus. So some kids are bouncing off the walls, not because they want to. They want to focus. They want to focus. So the attitude I go in with is, every human being is doing their very, very best possible in that given moment. Yeah. And so if I go in with that attitude, it's much less difficult for me to be in that class, rather than seeing me as a disobedient kid, a naughty kid, a blah blah kid, another blah blah kid. Yeah. That kid is wriggling. That kid is wriggling. Sometimes I'm having a session and I'm having a kid who's ambidextrous with both hands, creating such a beautiful picture. I mean, you can sell it on Amazon. I'm saying, please don't destroy it. Give it to me at the end of the session. But she needs to really it's difficult to be with me. And she's sitting with me, and they say the gut is like churning when they come up. And they want to run away, but they're forcing themselves to come in. What a struggle. The minute they sit down, the body can't handle the silence. It needs to discharge, discharge, discharge. And through the discharge, there's some percentage being able to focus. So when a kid has abuse, a lot of abuses happen. One of the way to cope with what's happening is mobilization with fears happening, and through the mobilization, they're able to focus a bit better. They're not able to sit still. So if you find that little kid sitting still for half a minute or 1 minute, through all that confusion, hey, you managed to sit quietly for half a minute. How did you do that? Ask him. Yeah. And then he'll look at himself. Oh, I managed to sit, did I? Hey, how did you do it? Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it, to sit still? It really is. And you need to move. And just now I saw you sitting still for a minute. How did you manage? Just, I want to hear. I want to hear. And then suddenly they look at themselves, and we expand that from minute to minute to, and next minute you can guarantee you won't get it again for a while, because the body, and then it'll come back slowly and slowly. Wow. Yeah. And if I was doing group work in some children's homes, and there'd be one kid who really couldn't sit still, then I took along an assistant, if it's Bal Vikas or whatever. Like in some schools, they have the teaching aid. Yeah? And I say, hey, little fellow, you're struggling to sit still. And it is distracting for the rest of the group. Yeah. And so what we can do, you're sitting with that assistant for 3 minutes. From there, you can watch and you can wriggle, and then you come back after 3 minutes. And sometimes 5 times he's left the group and come back. But he's left the group with dignity and returned with dignity.
Can I just jump in there and ask, so you recommend that as like a one-to-one conversation you'd have in with the child rather than say that in the group? Because that was my question.
No, that's why I whispered it. I would whisper it to the kid. I wouldn't say it loudly.
Yeah.
Because another kid will shame him.
Yeah, that's important.
That's right. It's very important. There's no shaming. It's dignity. It's respect. And this whole thing is about respect. Yeah, kids help me. And respect is our birthright. It's not, if a man is going to prison, then he goes to prison with dignity. He's already going through the punishment. I have no right to kick him or stamp him. Yeah. Any questions, or we are ending? Thanks. Thanks, guys, for putting up with me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Cleo. Thank you, Sophie and Pavitra and everyone who has joined us today. Auntie, there was such beautiful insights, many like goosebump moments actually. For everyone, Auntie's very graciously extended her interactions with us over the next 5 Sundays. So starting from 12th of July, she's called it the tug of war inside me. There are many interactive talks. We will send off the links for registration. Today's session was particularly done for the youths in our Swami group. So then the subsequent 5 weeks, Auntie has said that she's not going to mention anything. It's actually for outside people, anyone. So be happy to invite any one of your friends who are parents, teachers, who are volunteers, who interact a lot with kids, I suppose anyone can benefit from how you relate to our own selves.
Just to share, what is this? Because some question was out here, how can I be more present with my kid? Yeah, you see, we get very easily threatened. And when we are threatened, we are in survival mode. I don't exist anymore. The reactive me exists. Yeah, that other part of me is lost. So the next 5 sessions is to understand me really, so that I'm able to pick up that struggle happening when the triggers are happening. There was a question here earlier on, yeah? Somewhere I saw a question. And so then, from then, we are more present in the session. And that struggle, that tug of war, that struggle inside me where I'm losing it and where how to bring me back. And there was just one private question. Is it okay to have one responsible adult who understands the child, who understands life, who is at the highest level of consciousness? My dear, if I live a lifetime, we won't reach the highest level of consciousness. We leave that to Swami, okay? One parent who follows and the other doesn't, we can't shift another to be what we want. Yeah, all that we can do is to try our best to be present. And that's such a journey of a lifetime to understand that. Thanks. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Sairam.
Bye. Sairam. Bye.